WBNE.
Howdy, yokes, and welcome back to Bacon and Eggs. I'm Tyler Carlin.
And I'm Ethan Edgehill.
And today is Monday.
And this is Bacon and Eggs.
So put the new suit on.
And make systematic changes by yourself somehow.
Because today we're bringing you
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
I'm gonna get out of bed and start my day. Cook up a breakfast of bacon and eggs. I won't check my phone till after my coffee.
I said systematic. It's so systemic. That's might be.
It's all good.
All right.
I'll just leave this part where you say that. We are talking today about episode 6 of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, One World, One People, directed by Kerry Scogland, as all of them came out April 23rd, 2021, was 2 days ago. It has a 65% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I am joined today by Scott Nicewander, Scott from NerdSync, Scott of Late to the Party, the other podcast that I do. Thanks for joining me today, Scott.
Thanks for asking me. I know that there's no reason why Tyler isn't here. You just preferred my company instead today.
Yeah, I told Tyler to take a hike. Mm-hmm. And just he thinks we're recording a regular episode no, this is not true. Tyler had a baby.
Yay.
So he's gone for a while. It's just going to be me and some guests.
A fun time. I've kind of missed out on your guys' coverage of this show. Could I ask really quickly now that since it's the season finale, where are you kind of sitting at with this whole thing?
I love this show for the simple reason of I expected this to be an absolute trash fire. Coming into this show, I hated Bucky Barnes more than any other character in this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And they have made me care about Bucky Barnes in a way that I never thought I was going to.
Well, that's good.
So I absolutely love this show. I think it's fantastic. It's not perfect, obviously. I don't think it's as good as WandaVision or season 2 of The Mandalorian, honestly, but it is. I really enjoy it. I loved the last episode, the number 5. This one had some really great moments, and this one had some really kind of weird moments.
It had some baffling decisions, I will say.
So what do you think about the show? Give me a brief rundown.
Well, so this is kind of fitting for Bacon and Eggs because as the show was airing, I laid out some pretty controversial tweets.
You sure did. I remember your tweet after the first episode, where you're like, "Yeah, this show kind of sucks," and I was like,
It was about the third episode.
Yeah.
I tweeted that Falcon and Winter Soldier is really boring, and to be fair, the reason I tweeted that is mostly because I felt like I wasn't understanding the stakes of the show. They didn't fully set up what Carly and the Flag Smashers were really doing. By episode 1, I felt like I was siding with the Flag Smashers, and so I was dreading the inevitable turn that Marvel was going to take by turning them into murderous villains. And so I also just hadn't seen anyone talk about the show as much as WandaVision. So I was just like, wow, I guess everyone is kind of silently in agreement that this show isn't very good. So I will tweet out this thing that I didn't realize was controversial, that, hey, this show's kind of boring, huh? And I was met with a ton of backlash. People like this show.
Well, so I think the weird thing the show has going against it actually is that episode 1 is nonsense. Mm-hmm. Almost entirely, right? We've talked about it on the show before. You have not been here for, but episode 1, they needed the cliffhanger of John Walker being Captain America, right?
Yeah.
So to have a cliffhanger, it means you have to have something in the can already.
Yeah.
It's a nonsense episode. They brought some of those threads back. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen enough of Torres for him to have been that big of a part of the first episode.
Yeah. Where did Torres go?
And I really didn't think we were going to get much more shrimp boat content. We ended up getting shrimp boat content, and I was happy about it, but I did really think that was going to be a weird, because it seemed like it seemed like what they were going to do was dance around the racism issue, which they didn't, to be fair.
Yes.
They came out and said some things that I did not expect Disney to say. Episode 1 was kind of weird. I really enjoyed the ones after that. Mm-hmm. I do think where they failed, though, is that they they set it up that they were going to try to make the Flag Smashers into like the anti-hero, right? Like the hero, the villain that you can kind of root for a little bit, and there was going to be an actual villain. Mm-hmm. And then they came down just sort of like right in the middle on that one.
Yeah, they did. They definitely started making Carly out to be much less sympathetic towards the end. You could even tell that the other Flag Smashers were not with her when she was saying things like, well, we can just die for the cause and we'll kill all the hostages. And they were like, I don't know about that. And it just, I do appreciate that the big speech that Sam gave at the end about how, hey, look, this was Carly and the Flag Smashers movement. This was version 1.0. And if you, the people who are actually in power, the senators and the lawmakers, if you don't actually do things because these people have a legitimate reason for acting that the way that they are, for doing what they're doing, then like it's going to get worse. And almost rightfully so, because you're sitting down when you could be helping people. I like the lines that he says about like you could feed millions of people with a phone call or, you know, with an email. And it's like, yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that those are the kind of things that are being brought up. Is you have individuals like the Flag Smashers trying to make the world a better place the way that they see fit. And the people who have the power to actually do so, who are in, you know, these elected official seats, are just doing like nothing. And it's very infuriating.
Absolutely.
And so I appreciated that final speech by Sam.
Well, and my favorite part of that was when the senator just keeps pushing at him and going like, well, you just don't understand how hard it is. Yeah. And he says the thing about, well, okay, now we have something in common then, because you have no idea what it's like to be a person ever. On any given day, right? Like, and that's so true because our elected officials, no matter who they are woefully out of touch. Yeah. Even the ones that we think aren't out of touch and we love to praise on the internet can say some very questionable things, even on Twitter in the past day.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just, and there's a line from one of the senators. It's like, well, what about the people who, you know, when people got blipped back into existence and found other people living in their family homes, are they supposed to just be homeless now? And like, I kind of wish that they even went further in the episode and just said like, and this is almost like kind of preachy in a sense that like I would do it just to get points across, even though it's not like quote unquote good storytelling, but right. I would have been like, hey, you know, there are like more vacant houses than homeless people, right? Like not everyone needs to be homeless,
especially in the States. Like let them just live there. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And that was that I think is the interesting thing. And it's been truly my favorite part of the show and of any of the properties that have happened after Avengers Endgame is like, the fact that they're actually turning the blip into a thing, right? Yeah. That it wasn't just like, oh, Hulk snapped everybody back and it was all cute and, you know, one love, one life, right? It's like, no, that was a really terrible thing that happened and it happened permanently. And now it's a thing we have to deal with, right? Like they didn't just erase it, which I thought was really interesting this whole time. And I love hearing these post-blip stories of what happens to people.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I feel like it's a really interesting way because you're right. Like WandaVision barely touched on the idea of the blip. Like you had that one guy whose name I forget, like the head of Sword. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But he was always talking about like, you have no idea what it was like these last 5 years. All you people who disappeared, you have no idea. So we got glimpses of it. And then in this show, we see a much more realized version of this, you know, the snap and people coming in and out of existence. It's actually a pretty big thing that radically changed a lot of how the world worked. Right. And we're seeing repercussions of the world trying to get back to normal, even if normal isn't necessarily the best place that the world could be at.
Well, and that's the thing is just this it somehow has turned into like a fantastic metaphor for everything that's going on with the COVID. And that like we're fighting so hard to get back to this sense of normal that like nobody wants, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
Like, I just hear constantly, it's like, oh, we need to reopen the businesses. All the businesses want to reopen it. And it's like, I'm good. Like we should just be taking care of the business owners and just letting them do, the thing that God, whatever. Yeah, I'm not getting back into vaccination politics, but
no, I get what you mean. It's funny though, because I don't know if you followed this story. My friend, fellow YouTuber Nando V Movies kind of made a theory / uncovered a little bit of evidence that originally Falcon and Winter Soldier was supposed to have a pandemic storyline in it before COVID hit the States.
Yeah.
And so they kind of had to rewrite and reshoot some stuff. Theoretically, I don't know if that's ever been confirmed, but there's been a little bit of evidence to support that idea.
I have no idea, because whatever order they're like filming this stuff in and releasing this stuff in, it makes no sense whatsoever. Like,
yeah, well, because originally this was supposed to come out before WandaVision
last summer.
I think that's also a bit of reason why, if there was a pandemic storyline in it, they probably were like, all right, we got to take this back to the drawing board a little bit real quick, and we'll do WandaVision first.
Allegedly, they were filming Falcon the Winter Soldier like when COVID hit.
Yeah.
But like WandaVision was like done mostly.
Yeah.
So like, I just don't understand like what they're doing or what they were doing. Cause like, as far as I know, nobody ever saw Tom Hiddleston film the Loki show whatsoever. Like, it happened at some point and nobody knows when.
Yeah.
So like, I just don't understand what they're doing here, but like, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just like, why was WandaVision done so early and why were you rushing to get this one to print?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
It seems, and I will say that a big issue that I have with this show is that it is so short, and that it seems like it's trying to tackle a lot of very nuanced topics, and is only allowed to have 6 episodes.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely going to be a future season, it seems like.
Yeah, and they did announce a Captain America 4. A new Captain America movie.
Oh, did they?
Yes.
Okay.
I think as it stands right now, it is almost certainly going to be Sam as Captain America.
Yeah.
However, I have seen people say I wouldn't be mad at an Isaiah Bradley film. That would also be quite good.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about John Walker for a minute.
Let's talk about this boy.
Sorry, I'm getting my the gunk in my lungs out during this episode, apparently. Let's talk about John Walker and his extremely half-assed redemption arc.
I hated this. Oh my gosh, I hated this. So it seemed like to me, and I'm far from the first person to make this comparison or this analogy or whatever, but it seemed to me that Steve Rogers is the kind of representation that Americans think America is, and then John Walker comes in and he goes, this is what America actually is,
right,
in the eyes of other people around the world. And so the fact that they could let him kill somebody who didn't do anything really at that point, kill someone and then just have this total random redemption arc where he decides to save all the other hostages and paint him as a good guy so that he can be buddy and quip with the other people. It feels so wrong for what they were setting up that character to be.
Yeah, it felt very, and I don't know anything about U.S. Agent, but like, it felt very weird.
Yeah.
To like just let him, and I'm curious to see what we're doing with this whole like team of miscreants that Val is setting up, I guess. But like, very strange for them to bring him back in, and I'm on board with him coming back and like doing something decent.
Yeah.
But like, he still needs to get like punished, right? Like,
yeah.
He doesn't get to just walk away from that. I mean, I get he does, but like, at least have Bucky punch him in the face or something, like once.
Yeah, it doesn't even seem like he faced. So like he was discharged, right, as
Yes.
Captain America. And then
other than honorable discharge.
And then he just becomes his own knockoff Captain America. And then that's really it. He shows up and he's all angry and he fights and then he has a change of heart and then that's kind of it. And I just feel like, and you had mentioned like not knowing anything about U.S. Agent from the comics. I just want to say, and I touch on this in a video about the Justice League that I have coming out on my channel, but it's like I don't super care if a movie or TV show is accurate to the comics, as long as what they're doing in the movie or TV show is set up in a way that it makes sense in that story. Like, yeah.
And the reason I said that, honestly, is because if I don't say things like that, then people hop onto me and go like, well, actually, everything that happened in that episode with John Walker makes total sense because of, U.S. Agent number 41 from 1971. Right. So like, and then I'm like, sorry, I didn't read that.
Look, I love comic books, very obviously I do, but I also, you got to judge a movie or a show based on what it is doing itself.
Correct.
And it felt like it would have felt better to me if he decided to be U.S. Agent or if he was U.S. Agent, but it was very under wraps. Like maybe people were still looking for him. He had to face more consequences or something.
Right.
And he was just kind of on the run as U.S. Agent. Like that would be something, but the idea that he had this like change of heart so that he could be seen as one of the good guys near the end after everything that the show set him up to be as almost an irredeemable goon.
Yeah.
It just felt so rapid that they wanted to tie that in so last minute.
Now, that being said, on the other side of that whole fight scene in New York, I thoroughly loved. Basically everything about it. Big, like, mid-2000s superhero movie, like Nolanverse vibe.
Yeah.
Of that one, with, like, the gas and, like, people watching from the rafters and stuff. Like, I felt like I was back in the like, the original golden age of like Spider-Man movies and stuff, like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, the Chris Nolan Batman movies. Like, that was a big vibe.
Absolutely. It felt good. The new Captain America costume looks awesome. I think it is
fantastic.
Fantastic representation from the comics. It looks great. The action, like you were saying, is so good. I loved it was very fast in a really good way. It was very fluid.
Yes.
Everything was I love seeing Batroc back. I love his fighting style very specifically with all the kicks. It's so good.
Oh my god, the scene where Sam flies straight through the helicopter and grabs the pilot out.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh my
so
god.
sick.
Just like But yeah, they get into that like weird like industrial construction pit.
Yes.
And throw the gas in. I have to expect it just like, Bane to show up and be like, oh, Captain America. Wonderful to see you finally.
Oh, it's so good. I love that. I think Carly at the end was fighting with like a parking meter or something.
Yeah.
Just like trying to swing it at Bucky. It felt awesome. It felt very, very good. I've not had too much of an issue with most of the action in this show. I think
I know. I thought it's all been fantastic. Where do we come down on Sharon Carter?
A lot
of people hate this turn. A
lot of people hate this turn. I like it a lot. And I will say that because it makes her a really interesting character where previously she didn't really have too much else going on except for is really good person who was related to Peggy Carter. And other than that, it's like, okay, sure, why not? But now as her being the power broker, spoilers, I guess, is really interesting.
This is a spoiler-full show.
Yeah.
Also, I've been saying the statement Sharon Carter is the power broker for 4 weeks now.
No, it's great. I love it. I'm excited to see what happens next with that character. I think a lot of people I've seen speculating that she will start showing up in other Marvel Disney Plus shows like Armor Wars and things like that.
Yeah.
And that could be really fun. I think it's a fun take on the character that makes her a little bit more interesting than she previously was.
Well, and we're setting Elaine from Seinfeld up to be this like anti-Nick Fury.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus is so entertaining to watch. So entertaining to watch. Every scene that she is in, she steals the show.
Yeah, I thought she was great in this. You a big
so
Veep
funny.
fan?
I am a big Veep fan.
I could not get through a single episode of that show.
Really?
I don't know why. It was just like everybody was like, oh, you got to watch this. You will love this. And I'm like, I probably will. And I don't know. There's just something about the style that show is made in that like gave me hives.
It is. I see what you're saying, and I agree with you. I think I watched it in the background for like the first season, and then that could help me try to get better about the vibes of the show. But it's just one of those shows where everyone is an absolute monster.
Yeah,
and you just have to. You just have to watch it if you want to see people who are terrible not succeed at things.
Well, like it felt like Arrested Development if you turned the speed up. Like,
yeah, I see what you're saying for sure.
But no, I do love her in this character, and I'm glad they're not just like, you know, that they're still allowing it to be like fun and interesting, right? Because that's the thing that you got to do, that Marvel has to continue to do to stay ahead of the DC curve, is it has to be fun and interesting.
Yes.
Because DC has failed so hard to be fun and interesting.
I think it's failed as a whole to be fun and interesting. I think there are some bits of some movies that are fun and interesting.
Sure, yeah.
I will defend Aquaman to the grave.
I have not seen it.
Yeah. I think Shazam is pretty good too. But I think
I loved Shazam. Unironically loved Shazam.
Yeah. And that
but I didn't know that was
any
part of the actual like.
Oh yeah, that's not loving Shazam is not going to give us any points with the DC fans because they do not like Shazam. So
that's fine. I thought it was brilliant. It was a fantastic movie. I have not at any point had a desire to watch it again, so that might say something about it. But like, I saw it in the theaters. I reviewed it for the show, and I was like, you know what? That was funsies. That was a good time.
I like it a lot. But we're not talking about Shazam.
No, we're not. We are talking about Captain America and the Winter Soldier, which is a thing that Tyler said was going to happen. We're going to rename the show Captain America and the Winter Soldier. And I was like, boy, that is just a mouthful. And then they did. He was right.
They did it.
They did it. Which it's kind of rude to still call Bucky the Winter Soldier after he finishes the book.
That is true.
Right?
It should be called Captain America and Bucky.
Well, we can even give him a new superhero name, right? Like he can be
the White Wolf.
The White Wolf, or like Old Iron Arm.
Old Iron Arm, of course.
Anything. But like he even when he's talking to what is it, the Mr. Nakajima, Mr.
The guy whose son he killed.
Yes, the guy whose son he killed. He's talking to him and he's like, he was killed by the Winter Soldier, and that guy was me.
Yeah.
So he is not the Winter Soldier anymore. Like he finishes the book, he finishes the assignment. He listened to the Trouble Man soundtrack. You know,
sure
he's good. He's done. He doesn't have to be the Winter Soldier anymore. But they're still like, oh, we're gonna call him the Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. That does seem a little off-putting's not quite the word, but
just mean. Just mean-spirited.
It is mean. That's a good way of saying it.
No, so I for the first time in my life, and this happened with The Mandalorian too, because I could not stand Boba Fett. Mm-hmm. And now I'm very excited for the Boba Fett TV show. So like, give me more Bucky Barnes content. I am interested in more Bucky Barnes content. I think season 2 of this as a whole is going to be better and more put together.
Yeah. I think so. I hope that they give it more episodes to flesh out some stuff, because the show as a whole to me felt like it was simultaneously really fast, but also like not much happened throughout the entirety of it.
Right. They set up all this stuff, and the first 2 episodes were like crazy, and then like episode 3, 4, and 5 were like, okay, we got one storyline, let's go, and it was really good. And then it was like, oh, okay, well, we gotta touch on this and this, and we gotta give John Walker a redemption, and we have to like kill Carly Morgenthau.
Yeah.
She's got to get shot a bunch.
That's right.
Which I maintain, and people have said I'm wrong about this, but like apparently, we never saw Steve Rogers get shot properly because he just was fine at all times.
That's true. She does have super soldier serum coursing through her veins. Could she just not heal from a gun? I guess not.
I have no idea. And that's the thing, is like, I would have assumed that we saw Steve Rogers get fatally shot and he was just like, I'm a super soldier. But apparently not.
I guess not.
That's
he had
what
a
we've learned.
shield. Yeah, he did have a shield famously. So maybe that helped.
And now Falcon's got the shield and the wings.
Got the shield and the wings.
The cool Captain America Wakanda wings.
I love it a lot. Do you think they're going to, like, obviously the costume was set up to be this big reveal in this episode. If there is a fourth movie with Sam, do you think they're going to redesign it again to be like a little bit higher budget costume? I've seen some people say that they thought the costume was good, but it was clearly like a TV costume and not like a movie costume. I don't know if you agree with that at all.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure they spent like $225 million on this show. Like,
yeah,
I thought it looked great.
I thought it looked great.
Maybe the goggles were a little bit silly, but like they're always going to be a little bit silly. And I don't think the costume being a little bit silly is a problem, right?
Right. I think like
they put Wanda and Vision in the suits, in the Halloween costumes, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And I do think it's not unlike Marvel to want to redesign costumes like every movie. Like I don't
constantly.
I don't think Captain America, like Steve Rogers, I don't think Steve Rogers ever had the same costume from movie to movie.
No.
Yeah. So I think we're going to see more iterations of it, which is great because I think it looks awesome.
I agree. I actually really like both of John's suits as well. I thought they looked fantastic.
Yeah, I will say the U.S. agent black suit is pretty cool. I do like that one quite a bit more than the red and blue one.
I liked the red and blue one. I thought it was sharp. And it definitely gave you like a bad vibe about him, right? Like I think it did the job correct.
Yeah, it was like I think it was for me it was almost like the stark lack of white in the suit compared to what Steve Rogers typically has. He's got these like white stripes, and so there's like it's just red and blue, which are like the darker colors of the color scheme, and so you kind of get this like instantly you're just like something feels wrong about this guy.
Well, and it's there the deeper level of that like the white on the U.S. flag is and any flag is the the purity and the peace, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that's just not represented, obviously, in John Walker. He doesn't give a hoot about peace.
No, he does not.
So I thought that was a really strong choice.
Yeah.
They've definitely been taking more liberties with the costuming in recent years, and I love it.
I do too. I think it's great. I like seeing I liked seeing, even though Bucky didn't have like a costume, I still thought his look throughout the show was pretty good. I mean, Zemo wasn't in this episode, but the Zemo and the mask, I love the mask. I love the whole like puffy jacket thing too. Yeah. It looks great. I think it's fantastic. So the costuming in the show, as in general, is very. I'm
excited for Zemo to break out of prison and become a villain again.
Oh yeah, I guess Zemo was in this episode. He just wasn't in his costume. He was we saw him on the raft.
Yeah, after his butler killed the rest of the terrorists.
That's right.
Because he wants to eradicate super soldiers.
He sure does. I actually thought his arc was pretty good, just because he was he's had like one mission. He's like, no super soldiers.
He did the thing he said he was going to, honestly.
Yep.
When he destroyed all the serums, I really thought that he was gonna be like, well, maybe I save one.
Yeah, I thought that too, but I loved the consistency of him being like, no one gets these. But yeah.
So what are you excited for going forward about this all these properties that they're either announcing or teasing?
In terms of just Captain America, I am excited for a fourth movie. I think it would be fun to see Sam continue as Captain America in a big budget movie. Just because the optics of it to me, like if you have Steve Rogers be Captain America in movies, and then you have Sam only be Captain America in a TV show. Like,
right.
Not to say that that movies are better than TV shows or anything like that, but it just, the optics of it seem like it's a lesser thing than giving Sam his own movie.
Yeah.
So I do like the idea of a Captain America 4 with Sam, and I don't know where they could go with it, but I'm excited for it either way. Hopefully Bucky's around. That could be fun too.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting rid of Bucky.
No.
I don't think he's going to stray too far from the Shield no matter what.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he's going to be the new Falcon, the sidekick,
Oh, yeah. The Battlestar.
Oh, God. Battlestar.
Come on. So good. I am excited for if Sharon shows up in something like Armor Wars. That could be fun.
So what is Armor Wars? This is not what I'm familiar with.
Armor Wars is effectively like an Iron Man sort of storyline, but I think it'll be centered around War Machine.
Okay.
In the TV show. So it's very much like, it's hard to describe the scope of it in the comics, but just think of it as a big Iron Man centered, like lots of different armored characters fighting and whatnot. So I think we'll definitely be seeing more Justin Hammer in that as well. That could be fun. So
yes,
it's I think Sharon at the end being like, line up all of our buyers. We were going to have access to all these military secrets and government weapons and things like that. I think will probably tie into Armor Wars, it seems like.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to escape her by any means. Like,
no.
She's going to be a problem that they're going to have to deal with, clearly.
Yeah. It's going to be a good time, though.
I thought that was a great scene where, like, knowing that she is not, because we're theoretically the only ones that know she's the power broker.
Yeah.
Right? Like Sam wasn't there for that. And Carly's dead.
That's right. And Batroc is dead.
So yeah, we're the only people that know that. So like watching that scene where the senator's like, yeah, we'll give you whatever you want. This, your name.
Pardon. You get your job back. Yeah.
And she's just like, oh, thank you so much, Senator.
That's so kind of you. Thank you so much.
Now I'll make you pay for it. Like,
yeah, so, that'll be fun.
So you said you wanted to get political when we started this.
Yeah, a little bit. I want to talk about Isaiah Bradley.
Please
do. Bit. So there's a part in this episode near the end where Sam goes to Isaiah Bradley and he shows him this museum exhibit that is dedicated to Isaiah Bradley. And it's got this big statue and this plaque and all sorts of stuff. And he says, like, now your country will never forget what you did for them. And it's played as a nice scene. And there are parts of it that are nice, but this to me felt very wrong and very bad for reasons I can get into. It just kind of struck me as, there was a moment very recently where Nancy Pelosi in Our Real World had commented about the death of George Floyd, saying like, thank you for your sacrifice.
Oh my
God. Your sacrifice has caused us to have more justice in the world, or something very ridiculous like that. And that's what this scene kind of felt like to me, is Sam saying, now the country will never forget about what you've done, your sacrifice. And it's like, okay, but Isaiah Bradley and George Floyd did not choose to sacrifice anything.
No.
For any reason. It was all done, like Isaiah Bradley's very specifically was experimented on without any consent, sent in without any say whatsoever into battlefields, and, tortured and poked and prodded for decades. And wanted nothing to do with it, had no say in it whatsoever. And now they build a statue and they're like, now we'll always remember what you did for our country. And it's like, cool, that's great. But also, like, he didn't choose to do that. That's not justice in this case. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it also just seemed like that exhibit in the museum was like in a tucked away corner that not a lot of people were seeing anyway. So, and that could just be the way that they were just blocking out that scene to make it more personal and intimate or whatever. But it also just felt to me like, well, it doesn't even seem like it's going to get that much attention anyway, because it's in a tucked away little spot of this Captain America exhibit. But whatever. The bigger issue I have with it is very much like the thank you for your sacrifice. Meanwhile, like he did not choose to sacrifice anything.
Right.
Yeah. So that's my political take on that.
It is frustrating that because like especially in the case of George Floyd, no justice has been served, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
We got the person that was responsible and he's going to go to prison now.
Sure. Absolutely.
But that's not justice, right? That's just the right thing.
Right. That
should happen. Like that doesn't fix anything though.
Yeah, it's consequences for sure.
Yeah.
But it's not justice.
It doesn't fix anything.
Justice would be that he would not have died in the first place. And that's what it feels like with Isaiah Bradley to me too. And I'm sorry if it feels like I'm trivializing a real life event by comparing it to this moment from a comic book TV show, but that is just two very similar things that have happened within recent memory, especially with. It just felt like
and part of it was just really unfortunate timing, I think, on Marvel's part for them to like the guilty verdict for Derek Chauvin to happen like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
And then this episode to come out like literally the next day after Nancy Pelosi was like, oh, justice has been served. Thank you for your sacrifice.
Yeah. Thank you for sacrificing your life.
And after random brands on Twitter being like, I can breathe now. Like,
I hate it.
Why are we so bad at this, Scott? Like, why we the white people, in order to destroy this perfect union, why are we so bad at this?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Look at us right now. We're two white dudes talking about a show that deals with systemic racism. You know what I mean? Like, do we even know what we're talking about?
No, we don't.
Yeah.
But also, it's like I can watch this show and see what happened to Isaiah Bradley and watch the cops in the second episode messing with Sam just because he's a black guy, even though he's a superhero. And like, I can understand that is wrong. In a way that somebody who's watching this show might be learning for the first time.
That's true. That's a good point.
You know, so I do think the heavy-handed gestures they make in the show are important to some extent, because like, again, like this was previously a safe space for a lot of like Proud Boy types was like, Captain America especially, but like the white superheroes were very much a safe space. And like, with having no regard to who the Punisher is, all these cops are like getting Punisher tattoos.
Oh yeah, that is
military guys getting Punisher tattoos. I'm like, you don't understand the Punisher in any respect whatsoever.
No. You just like that he shoots and kills people.
Yeah, you like he's violent.
Yeah,
that's it. This show probably pissed a lot of people off because they were like, and I know that the episode where they killed the terrorist, where the shield thing. Shocked a lot of people and knocked a lot of people out of their box because they were like, this is graphic violence that Marvel usually hasn't risen to. And I'm like, yeah, but they kind of had to. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
They had to say the thing.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that imagery of the blood on Captain America's shield is going to be imagery that sticks with a lot of people, because throughout the entirety of the MCU movies, we've never seen that shield dirty in any capacity, really. No. And now we see what happens when an agent of America, the symbol of America, goes to a foreign place and enacts his own will onto people who are there. And it's a bloody Captain America shield. And it's good imagery. And I'm glad they did it.
Yeah, I'm glad they did a lot of things in the show. They again, I said at the beginning of the top of the episode, they could have really just phoned a lot of this one in, and they did say things like, they had Bucky Barnes make his speech about, Steve and I didn't know what it was like to hand the shield to a black guy.
I did appreciate that one for sure. It felt good just because obviously Steve and Bucky are the most out of touch out of all the people in the MCU.
Yes, because they are extremely old from a different time.
Yes.
A time in which, black people could not vote.
Yeah.
Or do anything, really.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think there's a lot of good moments in this show. And I think, and just to kind of redeem myself here, I had tweeted out that I thought the show was boring during episode 3. And I did like episode 2 a lot. That's when they first visited Isaiah Bradley.
Yes.
I just didn't think they were ever going to come back to that character, which is why I was like frustrated. I was like, I don't think they're ever going to come. I think there's just like a cameo appearance in episode 2 and they're never going to come back.
And then in episode 4, 5, and 6, they came back pretty much constantly.
Yeah. And that really helped swing my feelings on the show. And just a lot of other stuff. Like, again, the speech that Sam gave to the senators and the politicians about how it is their literal job and responsibility and duty to fix the problems that Carly and the Flag Smashers were trying to fix themselves. Like, that is very good. And I like that it places the blame on the people in power and not, I think even Sam came to the Flag Smashers' defense and was like, you can't call them terrorists. Stop calling them terrorists. Like, I like that a little bit. And there were a lot of parts like that throughout the show where I felt like it was slowly or even rapidly at some points redeeming itself to the point where by episode 4, so again, episode 3, I was like, this show's boring. Episode 4, I was like, never mind, this show rules. And by episode 6, I have come down almost right in the middle only because of John Walker redemption should not have happened.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Yeah.
And so many people I know, even just from what I've seen so far, have immediately like come back to being like, oh, so glad they gave him the redemption arc. Can't wait to see him in more stuff. Like, such an interesting character. Like, no. 2 weeks ago, you were like, this guy's the worst. Kill him. You can't just like, it doesn't. I get like that it's they want everything to be all cute and nice, and like I get it, but like,
yeah, I feel like if they sent him like on the run, secret hiding, like still working for Val, and but not publicly, still in the public eye, looked very bad to a lot of people, and they showed him like having remorse by the end of it instead of being like, oh yeah, I'm back, everything's great. Then I think you could build up to a redemption arc by the next couple of seasons or wherever he's going to pop up in a different show or a different movie or something. You can build up to a redemption, but having a redemption happen in like the back half of the final episode and just being like, yep, he is redeemed now.
Without them saying anything to each other, right? Like, that's the real thing, is they didn't even talk. What I did think was interesting is that like the people in New York didn't give one half of one crap about him. Like, we see people being like, oh, that's the Black Falcon. And the guy's like, no, that's Captain America. The guy's like, I thought Captain America was on the moon. Like,
love that conspiracy.
Like, John Walker's just gone, right? He doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
He's not Captain America to them at any point. Like, no, he didn't show up and nobody was like, oh my God, it's actual Captain America. Get rid of this black Captain America.
Right. Yeah. And that's a good point about the one person saying, I thought Captain America was on the moon. They didn't even say like, I thought Captain America was that other guy who got fired.
Because he was never Captain America.
Because he was never Captain America. Yeah. That's a really good point. I like that.
So I did think that was really interesting that like not even one single person maybe in a red hat was like, that's my Captain America.
Right. Oh man.
John Walker.
John Walker.
And I do just want to maintain, please stop bullying Wyatt Russell. He did nothing wrong whatsoever.
Absolutely not. He was given a character and a script and he acted a fantastic performance out of all of it.
He acted the hell out of that and then got bullied off Instagram because people can't separate villain from actor, right?
We need good villains.
God, seriously.
You can't bolster up your hero if you don't have a good villain. You know
well,
what I mean?
Nobody's coming for Josh Brolin.
Right. He snapped away like half of the universe or whatever.
Right.
So come on.
Yeah. That being said, the one final point I want to make about the show is it does not matter whether or not we see Steve Rogers die.
Yeah.
Okay? Just let him go.
Yeah.
This is to the people who are like, well, I'm not going to believe that Steve Rogers is dead until I see a corpse. Like, just let it go.
Just let it go. Let the memory of Steve exist in your mind. Imagine his end however you choose to imagine it, but I don't think we need to see it. Like, I think if Steve Rogers died or if he's still out there somewhere, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter. Maybe he is on the moon.
Maybe he's on the moon.
Maybe he went off to Wakanda to die in peace. You know, who knows?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Maybe he went off on like an Elvis ship and is just sailing around the world or whatever Frodo did. I can't remember.
And just to say this to Marvel as well, if you are listening, it doesn't matter that you didn't show us Steve Rogers' corpse. Yeah. Please fire Chris Evans immediately and never bring him back. Nothing against Chris Evans, but I do not want this hanging over our heads forever. Of like, well, we didn't actually show Steve being dead.
Here's what I would say, and you can disagree with me fully. If they brought Chris Evans back for Secret Invasion to reveal that Chris Evans is like, hey guys, it's me, Captain America. Just kidding, I'm a Skrull now. That would be cool. That would be technically him not playing Captain America anymore. He would just be playing
and then he turns into Ben Mendelsohn and everything's good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fine if you wanted to.
Right.
But I think let the actor move on. You know?
Yeah.
We've got a new Captain America.
Bring him back as Reed Richards or whichever one he played. Johnny Storm.
Yeah, bring him back as Johnny Storm. That could be fun. Oh man.
Bring him back as Johnny Storm and then make a boner joke about it.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts in this episode, Scott? Hit me with them.
Hit you with them. Let's see. Overall, I think the show, this was one of the better episodes of the show, minus one or two things that fell really flat for me. The show overall, I liked it more than I thought I would. By episode 2 or 3, I was really not expecting the show to do much in terms of talking about these complex, nuanced issues.
Yeah.
And it tried. It really did try. And some of it was very good. And again, some of it just didn't quite hit on the exact points for me. And I think that was probably just a flaw with them trying to balance being, just basically saying a whole essay about systemic racism versus having a show with a plot and things like that. And having only 6 episodes to discuss all of it in is probably a challenge. So the fact that they did any of it, and hopefully it got people to think and think more critically about their lives and the lives of others who are maybe not as privileged as some of us are, then I hope is a net positive that the show could have.
Absolutely. And I will say, after episode 2, I was on board with you because they had the whole scene in Baltimore and I was like, okay, now say it. Now say the thing. I didn't think they were going to say the thing. And it turned out they were very much willing to say the thing.
Yes.
That was not something I expected at all. This is very, I think, brave especially for Disney, to like just come out and be like, yeah, so this is how it be, right? This is hard for people every day. And so I'm looking forward to the future of the whole Marvel verse. Feels weird calling it the MCU anymore because now it's like 50% streaming series, but
that's true.
I guess it's still cinematic, right?
It's still pretty cinematic.
People love to use that word basically any situation they could possibly find. So,
oh yeah. This podcast has been cinematic.
Oh, this podcast has been so
opinion.
cinematic. Have you seen in video? You're seeing all the quick cuts I'm making. The Edgar Wright quick cuts.
That's right.
Where I've just zoomed in on parts of Scott's face and set him to a funky reggae song from the 70s.
That's right. That's what cinema is, people. This is cinema right here. Hey.
This is cinema. Yes, absolutely. I'm going to make a YouTube channel where all I do is be like, yo, you want to make your photography more cinematic?
Make sure to turn your camera on.
Turn your camera on. Put hard cut black bars into your... Take
your footage. Crop it. That's cinema. That's cinema.
Scott, have you noticed this? And I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but have you been watching some of the Netflix original movies recently, the sort of like awards contenders that they put out?
I've been trying to, but not nearly as much as I should.
Scott, Netflix has been adding the black bars, the letterboxing in post.
Huh. Like without the original cinematographer's input, or
no, like just so you know how video works. Like normally if you want to make a video in a certain aspect ratio, you just export it in that aspect ratio.
I see what you mean. So they are
exporting it in 16:9 with
and just adding the black bars.
Adding the black bars.
That's infuriating.
And I can tell you this because it's artifacting on my television. Because when you have the actual black bar on a movie, it's just because there's the pixels on the bottom of your television, the top of your television are off.
Yeah.
They're at zero. They're not on. They have not activated. That's how you get the blackness. But you watch a movie like Mank or like The Trial of Chicago 7, it's not black. It's very, 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 very dark gray.
That's so
weird. And sometimes, because it's a streaming service, it will like artifact and get like random color splotches and like lighter and darker grays inside of these black bars. And I'm like,
that doesn't make
sense. Do you not know how movies work, Netflix? Like, I can do this for you in Adobe Premiere. It will take me 8 minutes.
That's so bizarre. I don't like that. I've started exporting all of my YouTube videos in a 2:1 aspect ratio. Okay. And I've had to do that exact same thing of just like you just crop it. You don't add the black bars, because then if I show it on YouTube, it's just going to look like a 16:9 with black bars. That's no good.
Right.
Yeah, that's not.
No, I've done that for a music video that I did because like we wanted the black bars to always be there, right? Like
sure, if it's an intentional choice,
right?
Then absolutely.
And like I get it in that episode of The Mandalorian where they opened the gate to the IMAX, where they probably had to be like, yeah, we're just gonna add this. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, pretty much every episode of WandaVision is 16:9, but they have to have it be 4:3 pillar boxes and then widescreen letter boxes to fit everything inside of it.
They can't all be Wes Anderson and just use 3 completely different cameras.
Right. Dead center every shot. Pastel color schemes. I like Wes Anderson.
I like Wes Anderson a lot. I loved Grand Budapest, where they told the story entirely through camera ratios.
Yes, very much so. Well, let's start a Wes Anderson podcast.
Let's do it. We need more white people talking about Wes Anderson. Absolutely.
Yes,
that's
what
no one's doing needs.
No one's doing it.
Anyway, Scott, thank you so much for joining me to talk about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, of course.
I really appreciate you to bailing me out here on this. It's been a blast, and I'm glad I was able to get your insight on some things.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I literally just watched it last night, right before you had texted me.
So did I. I was watching it as I was texting you.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad it all worked out. This is so fun. I love being on Bacon and Eggs.
Well, I'll probably be hitting you up again shortly to come on and talk about a movie, because I need people to talk about movies with me.
We're going to talk about a Wes Anderson movie. Cool.
We can do that. I've knocked out some of the good ones already, but we can do that.
That's fine. Either way, whatever. You have me on for anything, I will be there.
Cool. All right. Well, Scott, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me mostly on my YouTube channel, which is NerdSync, NERDSYNC, where I talk about comics and superheroes and other nerdy topics like Dungeons and Dragons and Scooby-Doo and things like that. And I talk about them using hopefully an educational sort of spin where we look at the world through this lens of media. And or if you just want to follow me for some of my controversial tweets, you can do so at Scott Nicewander on Twitter.
Also, as this episode comes out, Scott and I are also on a podcast called Late to the Party, where we play Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. And today we have an episode with Brennan Lee Mulligan from Dimension 20 from College Humor. Came out the same day.
True. Wow, wild,
so, isn't it?
Go listen to that if you haven't
definitely
already.
don't have anything still to do on that episode before it airs at midnight. No, not me.
You already did it. It's all done.
It's totally all done.
It was a very fun time. If you haven't listened to the podcast as a whole,
this is a great place to start.
Great place to start. It's a one-shot, brand new characters, brand new world. You don't have to know anything. Jump right in.
It's just going to be like 3 episodes.
Yeah, it's a fun time.
It's going to be a great time. Anyway, Scott, thank you for joining me on Bacon and Eggs. On behalf of Tyler Carlin, who couldn't be here today, I've been Ethan Etchell. He's with Scott Nicewander. Bye.
Bye.